Here, I will go ahead and call our regular session to order. And I'm going to start by requesting a change of agenda. We have an action item that is it is D1, which is the Poet Laureate program, and I will ask to move that up into the mayor's announcements with the action item at that time. Because we have our Poet Laureate here, we want to allow him to speak and not have to listen to all the rest of the stuff unless he wants to. But I will start now with the roll call. Oh, do I do it? I do it. Or does Pam do it? I'm sorry.
Hang on. Oh. Our Jessica Payne will be doing it for us tonight.
Then Jessica, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Mayor Seaman?
Here.
Councilmember Castellano?
Here.
Councilmember Arroyo? Here. Councilmember Allison?
I'm here.
And Councilmember Vergel?
Here.
Thank you.
Okay. After that, I would like to ask you to join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Do we have a flag ready, Pam, to share the screen? All right. Thank you, Leslie. You guys are all ready. I appreciate that. We don't see the screen, by the way, in case you think we do.
I have a kinetic flag. Just kidding.
I see you talking, but no words are coming out.
Brian, I think you have control of the meeting and you need to help me share my screen, or you need to allow me to share the screen.
We're waiting for some other poets. We got a little time. Okay. I think I do have a flag somewhere in my house. Okay. While we're waiting for this, maybe I will just ask our city attorney if we have a report out from our closed session.
Thank you, Mayor. No actions to report out of closed session.
Thank you very much. And while she's looking, I will actually just, oh, we have it. It looks, there we go. Okay, everybody, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Yay! Thank you very much. Now we will move on to mayor's announcements. And I think, are we still waiting for a couple of people to show up, it looks like? So I will start by talking about, I don't have a lot of announcements this week, but tomorrow I will be hosting a meeting. It'll be the second of my Cradle to Career group. We're going to be meeting via Zoom. Cradle to Career is a concept where you look at working cross-sectionally with lots of different types of organizations to move kids from one stage of life to the next with the greatest amount of success. But since COVID-19, really started to think about we need to kind of go back to the very basics in the Maslow's hierarchy of needs and make sure that the very basic needs of kids are being taken care of. So tomorrow, our discussion will be all centered around food security for families in Eureka. and we're going to have several people talking about different programs from Eureka City Schools, Humboldt County Office of Ed, Food for People. We're going to have a doctor talking about nutrition and the effect that has on children in so many different ways. And so it should be a good conversation. After that, we're going to be having a very interactive Zoom type of call, which is going to be hopefully a nice change from most of the meetings that we've been going to, which have been very static. So I hope that we're able to find a way that we can be interactive and think about some strategies to make sure that at the very least, even when all this is over, when all of our resources are stretched beyond what seems reasonable, kids can still get something to eat that's fresh and healthy in their belly every day. So that's the goal. I saw a few more people jump on. So I think at this point, I would like to talk about the Poet Laureate program, or ask Leslie or Swan, who is going to talk about that program.
I was planning to talk about it, but I was going to ask Leslie to join me at the end.
Excellent. Well, we will have you start then, Swan, and then we'll ask Leslie to join in, and then we will invite our Poet Laureates to speak.
Okay, I'm still possibly waiting for Harvey Mitchell to join. So if our hosts see them, please let them in.
Hi, it's Harvey here.
Oh, great. Okay, then we're ready. So good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight I am bringing before you an extension of the Eureka Poet Laureate program. Our Poet Laureates are joining us tonight, and in a moment I will introduce them, and then we can discuss extending the program from 1 year to 2. So quick background, this program was developed by Councilmember Castellano and Christy Patterson. The program was adopted by the Agriculture Commission last March, followed by being adopted by City Council last April. After the program was adopted, an ad hoc committee was formed, and they selected David Hulper as our adult poet laureate, and Izzy Unsinger and Harvey Mitchell as our 2 youth poet laureates. So this time I'd like to invite our poet laureates to take the floor and each share a poem with us. David, would you like to get us started? And could you please also talk about your poetry on the Edge group?
Yeah, so let me start with the Poetry on the Edge group. Several people approached me online and asked me about doing this. And I thought it was a good idea. So because we had to cancel the reading that I was going to put on April 10th at the Morris Graves, and we were going to have about 20 local poets. So when that fell through because of the pandemic, I think that's why people wanted to see some kind of online presence. So that has about, I think, last time I checked, about 140 people are participating in that, and poets are posting all the time. So that's been good. And then one other thing that came out of that as well, Dilo Freitas, who's a friend of mine who works for the city of Arcata, asked me to round up a bunch of poems to put in windows in Arcata. So I think I sent her about 20 poems from local poets through that Poetry on the Edge website. So that's been a couple of things that have been active still as we've gone into this different kind of period. So I thought I'd bring a poem tonight, as you asked. And I brought some heavy material before the council before, so I thought I'd bring something a little more lighthearted. So I saw somebody posted online the other day an article from People magazine about a couple in Sweden who had some visitors, and they didn't want them in the house because of the possibility of spreading COVID-19. So they set a table outside in a field, and they had a little cable running out to it where they sent a basket of food to them so that they could eat outside of the house. And afterwards, they thought it was such a good idea that they opened a restaurant. So they feed one person a day at this table. And the restaurant is called Board for N, which means table for one. So that's what the poem is about. It's called Board for N. Please sit. Here is your table. It stands rooted to the earth. like the Galapagos, where for centuries the flightless cormorant harbored before. We have one special today, safety. It comes with a sight of sky over the russet bed of a fallow field where we promise you will be left alone. We will send your meal via cable in a basket. We put a little checkered cloth over it like the print from Dorothy's dress in which she was swept far from any world she knew. What else is available? Sorry, assurances are not on the menu. Yet in the whirlwind, it is still the safest restaurant in the world. If when your food arrives, a sparrow alights, we would appreciate it if you offer her a little bread, a bit of water from your glass. She has come so far to be with you, and it takes so little to show you have not forgotten your humanity at home. So that's it.
That was lovely.
Thank you.
That was very lovely. Thank you,
Yeah.
David.
You're welcome.
Izzy is still trying to rejoin the meeting. She lost her connection. Harvey, would you like to share a poem with us?
Yeah, I would love to. So in quarantine, I've been writing a lot and just trying to find places online that are still around to share poetry in. So this is one of those poems that I've written and since shared in online communities. There are only two parts to a joke, usually. One, a man walks into a bar and says, I have something with my best friend no one else has with him. And sometimes when he turns his head, we are so close, our noses touch. Did you know that? It would be very easy for us to kiss, but the other thing is it would be very difficult. It would probably hurt my feelings more than his. When our hands touch, brushing or holding, it doesn't hurt. I imagine my own intentions, and so does he. He sits further away from me when his girlfriend is around, and he doesn't notice. His girlfriend and I pretend not to notice, but you can't really lie to yourself. I have something with him that no one else does because I sometimes forget he is not in love with me. With other people, he's in love with them, or no one ever wonders if he is. He never wonders. It's just like that with other people knowing. I try not to be so selfish. I forget I'm not in love with him. That is something he has with me that no one else does. His green, sweet heart next to mine. All I want is more. Hey, another man says, I saw you walk into that bar. That looked like it hurt. Are you okay? Oh yeah, the man says, ouch. There are only two parts to a joke, usually. Part two. Knock, knock. Who's there? Your heart, the bloody animal inside of you, the bleeding mass. Did you know that bloody and bleeding mean two different things? How much do you think you can love a man before you are no longer one? How much do you think you can want something before you become or die? When you lay your head down at night, I'm still there. I'm inside you the way you are inside you. It doesn't matter whether or not you are alone. In your dreams, you kiss people who are not real, and it's not because you don't want to kiss anybody else. Your skin is red hot, doesn't feel like anything at all. You don't taste even without your mouth in the way. You don't want to be real. You want to be anybody else. When you go to sleep, your heart is still beating, and maybe that's your problem. I will never go away, and neither will you. You can never want anything badly enough, only too much. What? Who is this? Sorry, my name's Who. Who? Is there an owl there? There are only two parts to a joke, usually part three. How do you make holy water? I don't know how. Wanting doesn't do anything in the end. You can't want someone into loving you, and you can't want yourself into being more lovable. You want a bamboo heart, springy, green. You want what anyone does, and maybe that means you deserve it. Maybe not. Maybe you'll die seeing red and not feeling anything, and your mouths will always be close without touching. Maybe the solution is to want less. Maybe one day you won't want anything at all. All you want is everything. You never stop. A hand flat against your back, the way you say goodbye to someone who has died. Something no one else has, something you can keep. If you could make a little golden moon out of your fingernails, you would. You can't. They're too bitten. They're red and raw and bleeding. That's how you make holy water? Oh, no, you boil the hell out of it. So there's that one.
Thank you, Harvey. Izzy, have you been able to join us? Well, let's keep going, and hopefully Izzy will try again. So, due to the difficulty of conducting community programs during the COVID-19 pandemic, staff is requesting that the term of the adult poet laureate position be extended to 2 years, and the term of the youth poet laureate position be extended up to a total of 2 years. We added this in case a youth poet is graduating or is only interested in a 1-year term. And an extension of the term was being considered before the pandemic, but the timing of the extension seems especially important right now. So I've put together some suggested motion language. And before we get to that, Leslie, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Mostly, I want to thank David Hoper and Harvey and Izzy for being our inaugural poet laureates, and just appreciating their courage, and kind of stepping into a new program during this time. And, so far it's been really valuable to see the way poetry has been able to kind of infuse itself into the city and difference through the Poet Laureate program. And so generally, I think it's going to be really a good opportunity to see it. The poets have 2 years. I really noticed with the scope of the community projects in particular that really to really build a project, I think it will be quite beneficial to have a longer span of time. Especially now, but already, it was, I think the imagination of poets is valuable and definitely larger in scope, perhaps, than a year would allow for many of the community projects. So I think this will be something that the whole community will really benefit from.
All right. Does anybody else have any comments or questions? And just so you know, I can't see you all. Oh, wait. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put you on gallery mode so I can see everybody. Does anybody else have any questions on Councilmember Burgell? Oh, mute.
I have a comment, but I also have a question for David. So David, you read the most beautiful poem when you were first put into office about the Telluride Island. Is that available yet?
It hasn't been published. I was just waiting. I didn't know exactly. Part of the guidelines for the Poet Laureate was that you had to produce 4 poems during the year, and then those 4 poems would be published in some way, I guess through broadsides or something like that. So I was waiting for that to happen. And I don't know if I mentioned this at the council meeting, but I wanted to take one of the printed ones and frame it and give it back to the tribe as a sort of acknowledgement, of the poem, but also of the event of the city giving it the land back. So, I mean, you're welcome to send me an email and I'm happy to share the poem with you, but it hasn't been published yet. So it's been out to a number of publishers, but no one's published it yet. So, so that's kind of where it is.
Well, it was beautiful. And so was the one you did tonight. It was really nice. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I see Izzy is on the call with us now. Izzy, would you like to read your poem now?
Yeah, I'm sorry about the technical difficulties.
We all have them.
Oh yeah, especially me. I
Zoom.
just blink in and out of meetings now. I wrote 2 poems for Eureka as I was required to do so, and this one is one of the 2, and it's called The Salt. Sturdy and spindly trees stretch towards the sky, draped heavily by soft green. The salt from the bay seasons the seasons of the town, flavoring the festivities of the people. Children play in waters, decorating their swimsuits with seaweed. They can't stay long. The water is scalding cold and loves the heat of visitors. Little bodies squeal as they are wrapped in sand-covered towels. Their parents laugh, their kids red and white from the cold and the sun. The quiet people with more sense collect driftwood and shells, claiming the offerings from the sea. Dogs run in and out of the bay, chasing sticks into the sunset. Everyone is getting tired now, and the sky curls up in silks lined with stars. The moon hums a lullaby to sing the people to sleep.
Hmm.
And that's it.
Also a very lovely contribution to the project. So does anybody else have anything that they wanted? So we moved this from an action item to the mayor's report. So I don't know if we need to follow the protocol for questions or comments in the front, but does anybody have something to say? Councilman Arroyo or Member Arroyo?
I just wanted to thank our poet laureates as well. Poet laureates, is it? I don't know how to pluralize it. Our 3 poets laureate. And I appreciate the contributions you've made so far and the adaptability that you've shown. And I'm really excited to have more time to hear from you during your term. And I hope that our Youth Poets Laureate are able to continue. And so I just wanted to mostly thank you. And I also really have appreciated that, David, of the poems you've read, there's been and the poems that our Youth Poets Laureate read tonight, there's just been, I think, a lot of realness in them. And I appreciate you lifting up that poetry doesn't always have to be pleasant. And it doesn't, that I think people have a perception of poetry as a certain thing. And I appreciate that you've shown that it's multifaceted. So thank you very much.
All right. And I, again, always appreciate so much what you bring to the community. And in times like this, where people they're feeling so many things that sometimes are very difficult to express, going on Poetry on the Edge and reading what other people are writing is really, for a non-poet, it's, very cathartic. And I'm sure if you are the actual poet and able to express yourself that way, it provides the same sort of outlet. And that's why we need arts when times are hard. That's what helps us get through. It makes it all the difference. So thank you to all of you. And it looks like we will be looking for a motion at this point. Do I have a motion to extend the Poet Laureate program for 1 year? Councilmember Castellano?
I move to extend the Adult Poet Laureate. Sorry, I'll try that again. I move to extend the Adult Poet Laureate program from 1 year to 2 years, and the Youth Poet Laureate program up to a total of 2 years, depending on the participants' availability.
Second.
And we have a second. Any more discussion? All right. All in favor? Jessica, would you mind doing a roll call vote, please?
I will. Thank you. Mayor Seaman.
Oh, I don't vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. Councilmember Castellano.
Aye.
Councilmember Metzner is not here. Sorry. Councilmember Arroyo.
Aye.
Councilmember Allison.
Yes.
And Councilmember Vergel.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Not that I wouldn't love to have voted. But rules is rules. And now we will move on to our public comment period. And do we have any public comment for today?
Mayor, no, we have not received any requests for public comment for items not on the agenda.
Thank you very much. Then we'll move on to our public hearings, and item A1 is the resolution confirming and ordering special assessments for unpaid garbage and recycling collection fees. And I hear that Deputy Director Wood is going to be making that very exciting presentation.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. It's very awesome to see everybody, see all your faces. The special assessment before you this evening are related to unpaid garbage and recycling collection fees. The mandatory garbage and recycling collection ordinance states that the owner of any improved property in or from which solid waste and recyclable materials is created, accumulated, or produced is responsible for subscribing to collection service. It is the property owner's responsibility, not the tenant, to secure and maintain collection services. The delinquent accounts section of the ordinance states that the city shall attempt to collect the delinquent fees in the manner described in California Government Code Section 25831, which establishes the procedure to record a lien or special assessment against a property. In conformance with this Government Code section, all delinquent accounts are from 2019 and have been unpaid for a period of 60 or more days after the date upon which they were billed, and all property owners were sent a final notice on April 29th, which was not less than 10 days prior to the date of this hearing. It is the policy of the city to seek voluntary and timely compliance with the provisions of this ordinance, to provide an effective means of enforcement if such compliance is not obtained, and to set forth the procedures for the collection of fees if they are not paid voluntarily. Noticing to property owners about delinquent accounts was not limited to the final noticing sent out in April. The city's franchise hauler, Recology, notified property owners of delinquent accounts in April 2019, August 2019, November 2019, and March of this year. Recology also sent letters each month to owners with closed accounts so they would have time to contact tenants. In unique instances, Recology has provided quarterly reports to property owners of accounts associated with their properties. As of May 4th, as you can see on the attached report, there were 816 properties on the list. As of yesterday, May 18th, when the report of 2019 fees for garbage and recycling collection was finalized, there were 477 properties on the list. Staff has also received 26 returned final notices. Those property owners who did not receive the final notice will not be included in the final report sent to the county auditor. Staff has received many phone calls concerning this issue. Staff has been extremely accommodating with responsible property owners interested in avoiding the special assessment process and are still working with property owners who have made an effort to resolve the unpaid balances. In addition, given the COVID-19 situation, this final notice also provided property owners with additional payment arrangement opportunities. For those property owners that have received the final notification and have yet to resolve unpaid balances associated with their property, they will still have 20 days from the date of this hearing to make arrangements for payment if council approves staff's recommendation. Those property owners that do so will be afforded the same accommodations as previous property owners. With that, staff recommends council 1, hold a public hearing to hear any objections or protests, and 2, make adjustment as deemed just, and 3, adopt a resolution of the City Council providing for collection of fees. Staff is available if council has any questions.
All right, do we have any questions? Seeing none, I will ask if we have any public comment on this item.
No, we have not received a request to provide comment on this item.
Okay, so I will bring it back for comments or motion.
Let's see.
Are you trying to say something, Austin? Okay.
Oh yeah, I just want to make the motion. So I'd like to make a motion to adopt a resolution of the City Council providing for collection of fees.
And Kim, Councilmember Burgell has seconded. Do we have any discussion about it? Seeing none, I will ask Ms. Payne if you would take a roll call vote, please.
As soon as I can get it to come on. Councilmember Castellano?
Aye.
Councilmember Metzner's not here. Councilmember Arroyo?
Aye.
Councilmember Allison?
Aye.
And Councilmember Burgell?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And next on our agenda is item A2, which is special assessments for unpaid abatement charges. And for that, I would like to invite Deputy Director Brian Issa to make the presentation. Nope, you're on mute.
How about now?
You're doing good now.
Okay, excellent. So this next resolution is very similar to the previous one, where the council is approving the placement of special assessments on the county tax rolls, unlike the last one, which was for garbage fees. This is for unpaid abatements. So this is where the city actually goes out after providing notice to homeowners and taking all of the required legal steps to try to get people to take care of their nuisance issues on their own. If that's ultimately unsuccessful, or if there's an emergency where the city has to take action because the owner is unwilling or unable, then we go out and either do it ourselves or hire a contractor to do the work. Most of the time we hire contractors. So the vacant building board ups, tearing down dangerous structures that are damaged by fire, that sort of thing. So in the past, and we do these about once a year, in the past, we've also included, both as assessments or liens, it's kind of changed over time, but we've included citations, unpaid citations, vacant and boarded monitoring fees, and those sorts of charges. In this particular instance, we've separated all of those out. We're going to wait to do that stuff at a time where maybe things are a little more normal. But these abatement fees are taxpayer dollars. So these are city out-of-pocket costs that we pay directly to contractors to have the work done, and the city does need to recoup that money as soon as possible. The window for that closes as properties start to flip and sell. It becomes less likely that we'll recoup that money. So we need to do them as soon as possible. So this is kind of our annual take at getting these placed on the county tax rolls. I believe there's 5 properties this time. Initially there were 6 of them in the notices that went out, but one ended up being an accounting error. Things were misclassified. So we have 5. There's a total of about 178,000 and change. So it's not an insignificant amount of money. And I don't know what written public comment you may have had, but both I and Director Gerving, who is also the chief building official, would be happy to answer any questions related to the assessments.
All right. Does anybody have any questions? It appears that we are questionless. Do we have any public comment on this one?
No, Mayor, we have not received any requests for comments.
All right, so I'll bring it back for comments. Councilmember Arroyo.
I don't have a comment, but I move that we already had the public hearing, that we adopt a resolution of the City Council ordering special assessments or liens for unpaid abatement charges.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second? Councilmember Castellano.
I'll second.
All right, any discussion? All right, can we get a roll call vote, please?
I'm doing my best here. Councilmember Castellano.
Aye.
Councilmember Arroyo.
Aye.
Councilmember Allison.
Yes.
And Councilmember Burgell.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move on to our next item, which is the consent calendar. I have not had any requests to have anything pulled. So do I have a motion to accept the consent calendar? Councilmember Burgell.
I move that we accept the consent calendar.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, so we have a first and a second, and can we get a vote on that now?
Councilmember Castellano.
Aye.
Councilmember Arroyo.
Aye.
Councilmember Allison.
Yes.
And Councilmember Burgell.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
All right, now we're moving on to item C, which is ordinances and resolutions. And tonight we're going to be talking about early retirement incentives and intent to adopt CalPERS retirement credit resolution recommendations. So do we have Director Folger anywhere on the call, or who's going to be? Oh, there he is. He's in room 207.
All right, is my mic hot right now?
Sound good.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Yes, before you tonight, I have an early retirement incentives and an intent to adopt CalPERS retirement service credit resolution. So it's kind of a two-parter. CalPERS requires that the council adopt a notice of intent to offer what are called golden handshakes, which is essentially 2 years of service credit as an incentive for people to retire, which provides a significant savings to the city, as well as to offer health insurance contributions for 2 years, so 80% continuing towards healthcare premiums for a couple of our employees who are interested in utilizing that early retirement incentive. Combined, those two early retirement incentives give the city the ability to achieve some significant savings in the coming fiscal year, which, as I'm sure you are all aware, is very important at this time. Sometime now, the city of Eureka has been facing difficult budget times and preparing for some leaner years ahead. And of course, with COVID-19 and the economic impacts of that, those conditions were greatly exacerbated. So one of the first steps and least invasive steps we can take in order to achieve significant savings is to do something that both benefits the city and employees, and early retirement incentives fits the bill for those purposes. Without getting into all of the nitty-gritty details of the agenda summary that I have before you, I'll highlight some of the major points and then be happy to answer any questions that you have. So we have 6 employees who are going to be taking advantage of these early retirement incentives. 4 of them will be receiving golden handshakes. 2 of them will be receiving continued health insurance coverage, for a total of $486,670 worth of savings for the coming fiscal year. 313,563 will be achieved through those golden handshakes, and 173,107 will be through the health insurance, the continuing health insurance. So essentially what we have here is, in the agenda summary, is stating the notice of intent, as I said, and also providing a detailed breakdown of the savings and the costs to the city for purchasing these items for the retirees. That's in part to ensure that the whole picture is presented to you, but also it is required by CalPERS to show the cost of purchasing those service credits for those 4 employees, and showing what those costs look like amortized over a 20-year period. And so I'll quickly detail that. So the cost overall is $209,185, which amortized over 20 years is $10,409 per year. And the savings, of course, is significant on an ongoing basis, in that we have over $400,000 worth of savings in one fiscal year alone by offering those. So at the next council meeting is when we will be adopting a window period for people to be able to retire within that period. And then we will be within the parameters required by CalPERS in order to offer those golden handshake incentives. But for now, we have the ability to today offer those health insurance premiums to the 2 employees who are interested in that. So with this item, you achieve those 2 things, and then I will be back in a couple weeks to formalize the golden handshakes with you. There's a lot more in there, but I'll leave it open to any specific questions you may have on the agenda item.
Do we have any questions? Councilmember Allison?
Yeah, I had a question about about positions being vacated. Will that be permanent? Would some other employees have to step up their duties on the job to fill the missing positions?
The way that right now we're still in the process of determining what organizational changes will be necessary in order to ensure that service levels are not impacted too heavily by this. But yes, these positions, at least for the time being, the intent is to have them remain unfilled in order to achieve the maximum amount of savings that we can. It's just the reality of the financial situation we're in. And achieving savings this way, it relaxes the other options that we have to pursue that could be more impactful to current staff. However, there are strategies being discussed now. We are hopeful and optimistic that we will be able to maintain service levels and to ensure that those critical functions being performed by these employees do not go by the wayside. And so hopefully that answers your question. And in the coming weeks, we will have more to share on that specifically.
Do we have any other questions? And did we have a public comment on this item?
We have not had anyone from the public who wished to speak on this item.
Okay, so I will bring it back for comments. Councilmember Allison.
I just want to make the motion. So I'll make the motion to provide or to adopt a resolution of the City Council approving 2 years of contributions toward health insurance as an early retirement incentive for 2 employees, and to adopt a resolution granting 2 years CalPERS service credit to 4 employees as an early retirement incentive, including disclosure of employer costs to provide this benefit.
Okay, do I have a second on that?
I'll second.
Ah, okay, I don't know who that was. Did you?
I'll make it me.
Jessica. Okay, count.
But I do have a comment also.
Also, okay. So we have a motion, we have a second, and so now discussion. Go ahead, Natalie.
Okay. I just wanted to note, I received a couple of emails about this matter, and this in no way indicates displeasure with these employees. In fact, they're longtime valued employees with the city. So it was their choice to take this course of action, and we just appreciate them so very much. They're all near and dear to us. And so I just wanted to make that note and state that they would not be departing. One of the concerns in particular was around the departure of Gretchen Ziegler, and she would, not be departing without a really good, robust plan in place from her current position. So anyway, I just wanted to assure folks that we really support these employees and that they've done a phenomenal job for the city.
I'd also like to add, I also received some messages about Gretchen Ziegler, the director of the zoo, who has brought so much to the city and has just been fabulous. And somebody said, don't let her do it, but she's been given the same opportunity as everybody else. So we haven't asked her to do it. This is her privilege or her option to choose to do it. So we can't tell her, no, you're not allowed to do it. Okay, does anybody else have a question or a comment? Councilmember Castellano.
I like Councilmember Arroyo, I want to extend my appreciation for the lengthy span of careers that these employees have had and their really significant contributions to the city. So just, thank you. You've made a wonderful impact for the city of Eureka. And thank you to Director Folger for organizing this, and for really thinking about the long-term financial needs for the city as well.
Any other discussion? I have a motion. I have a second. Oh, and Councilmember Burgell.
I just wanted to say that I agree with what I've heard, and I really appreciate these people that were willing to take the golden handshake. They're going to allow other people to keep their jobs by doing so, and I just really want to say, you know, we appreciate you and thank you so much for all you've done, and Godspeed. Good luck in the future.
Excellent. All right. I think with that, everybody's had a little bit to say, so let's have a vote.
Councilmember Castellano.
Aye.
Councilmember Arroyo.
Aye.
Councilmember Allison.
Yes.
Councilmember Burgell.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Oh, so that was item C1. We moved D1 up to the mayor's report. So now we're going to move on to item D2 under reports and action items. And this is a report on ranked choice voting. And I do believe that City Attorney Bob Black will be doing that one.
Thank you, Mayor. The council has expressed an interest over the last year, really, in exploring ranked choice voting as a method of conducting elections in the city of Eureka. And this process of ranked choice voting, if it's adopted, put on the ballot by you and adopted by the voters, would apply to the mayoral election and the election of each council member in the individual wards. The process of ranked choice voting is principally an alternative to the common methods of electing council members and other public officials in the state of California. The first principal method, probably the clearest example that we see, is in the election of county supervisors, where there's a primary election. And if there are more than 2 candidates and no one candidate gets a majority vote, the top 2 are elevated to a runoff election, which kind of awkwardly in the case of county supervisors occurs, you know, like 6 months later. In the case of your current method of election, you have basically a plurality method in which the top vote getter in each of the wards, or the top vote getter for the mayor, is elected regardless of whether they achieve a complete majority or not. And of course that is applicable where you have, again, more than 2 candidates. Ranked choice voting is a different method, and it aims to allow candidates that have the broadest base of support, and because of that, thereby obtaining an eventual majority in round 2 or 3 of the ranked choice voting process, to then be declared the winner. And Christine, our paralegal Christine Lopez, found a little video, I think it's 1 minute long, on YouTube. It was a video, a cartoon video, that explains to the voters of the state of Maine how ranked choice voting works. And Pam, if you could cue that up, I think it'll make things clear in short order.
Yes, and we actually did. Christine found a video that was done for the city of San Francisco, so we are using that one. It's the same link.
Okay, great.
Yes. So 1 moment.
Knows how voting works, right?
Sure, I just put a mark next to my favorite candidate and cast my vote.
Well, it's a little different than that in San Francisco.
How's that?
Well, in 2002, San Franciscans voted to use ranked choice voting, sometimes called an instant runoff election. Voters rank their top 3 candidates in order of preference.
Oh yeah, and if I really like someone, I can vote for them 3 times as much.
No.
Huh?
See, it works like this. On your ballot, you'll see a list of candidates. For this example, instead of candidates' names, we'll use colors.
Can we use cats and bunnies instead?
Okay. On your ballot, you'll see the list of candidates repeated in 3 rows. Your job is to vote for your favorite candidate, just like before, but also to vote for your second and third choice, too. There, you're done.
Easy, and that's all there is to it.
On the voting side, yes. The counting side is where it can get interesting.
What do you mean?
If any one candidate gets over 50% of the votes, that's it. They win. But if no one breaks the 50% mark, as usually happens with so many candidates in the race, there is what's called an instant runoff. Cats are in the lead now, but under 50%. Spiders came in last, so they're out, but everyone who ranked spiders number 1 will have their next choice redistributed and added to the overall tally. Now it looks like lizards are last, so they're out, and everyone who ranked them first has their second choice added. This process happens as many times as it takes for one candidate to get over 50% of the total votes.
Wait, how did dogs get in the lead?
Well, overall, by including voters' second choice votes, dogs got the most votes.
I guess they are loyal.
And that is how ranked choice voting works.
So as you can see, ranked choice voting has been employed in the city of San Francisco for 18 years. The city of Oakland adopted ranked choice voting a few years after San Francisco, but that's been in place for over a decade. And then the cities of San Leandro and Berkeley adopted ranked choice voting in 2010. I know of no jurisdictions that have gone backwards from ranked choice voting. And it does seem to have worked fairly well in those communities. So there were different methods employed by each of those 4 cities to adopt ranked choice voting. San Francisco and Oakland put the entire voting scheme into their charters, which caused some very complicated charter amendments to be proposed and adopted. But San Leandro and Berkeley took a different approach, and each of them proposed and had adopted a charter amendment that allows the city council to enact ranked choice voting by ordinance. And the benefit of that is it does provide for flexibility if there's a change in technology or some adjustment is needed to the actual ordinance scheme. You can do that as a city council and still be faithful to the voters' will to have ranked choice voting in place. So what I have put before you is a pair of very simple charter amendments that change only 2 sections of the charter, and they allow you to control elections by ordinance. They do direct that ordinance should impose ranked choice voting or enact ranked choice voting. You could have an ordinance amendment that didn't have that requirement in it. My concern there is that some people might feel that you could turn ranked choice voting on when it seemed advantageous, turn it off when it didn't seem advantageous. In this particular scheme that I'm suggesting, we keep the charter portion of it very simple, but it does provide direction from the voters directly to the city council that ranked choice voting is their wish. I did also provide a draft ordinance that is for discussion purposes if you wish, but it is a simple ordinance that describes how ranked choice voting would work in the city of Eureka. So what we're asking you for today is for you to discuss and give direction on, I believe, your next agenda, but no later than the agenda after that. We would bring back to you a series of formal resolutions that would consolidate a charter amendment with the next general election in November that would provide authorization for specific charter language to be put forward. And I think that's basically it. Pam might have more information about what those ordinances, excuse me, those resolutions would look like. But that's basically it. Your formal action would come at the next meeting.
All right. Do we have any questions for either City Attorney Black or for Pam in her role of city clerk at this point? And also her directors, Councilmember Castellano.
I think I have two questions, one for City Attorney Black and one for Acting City Manager Powell. The first one for the City Attorney, could you speak to, I know one critique of ranked choice voting has been that it's confusing. Could you speak to that? Has that been the case in, I mean, it seems like it's been successful in other cities, but have there been situations of that you're aware of?
I'm not aware of any situation in which ranked choice voting has, let's say, been a failure in the sense that there was, that somehow it delegitimized the election or caused results that were at variance with its goals, which are to have the person elected get a majority support. The biggest criticism that I've heard about ranked choice voting is that it could be confusing to voters. And I think that the little educational cartoon that came out of the city of San Francisco, I think that was the purpose behind that, was to basically make it plain to the voters. There is discussion, especially in the first election, in which ranked choice voting is used, that there needs to be a serious educational campaign going into that election so that voters are not just baffled when they see the ballot in front of them.
Thank you. And Acting City Manager Powell, can you speak to, I believe we've conversed about instances in which the city has put forth multiple ballot measures. Could you speak to that?
Yes, we have in the past had more than one ballot measure on the ballot at one time, like a charter cleanup language, perhaps a tax measure that is necessary for the city. We have, as you know, we are considering renewing our tax measure that will be expiring in 2021. And so we have posed the question, would this be how would we educate the voters regarding the two measures on the ballot should we need to? And we would want to send out our educational materials, we would need to educate or list both ballot measures and give good information, unbiased information that educates the voter as to what their vote would mean. And so we are taking that into consideration in our educational materials as we move forward.
Any other questions about this? All right. Oh, Councilmember Arroyo.
So just for clarification, this is something that we would not be imposing. People would vote on this in November.
Yes.
Okay. I actually knew the answer already, but I just wanted to make sure that it was clear.
Understood.
All right. So any other questions? Do we have any public comment on this item? I believe we do.
Yes, Mayor, we do have public comment, and we will be queuing up Caroline Griffith.
if you're just tuning in on TV, we're waiting for a phone call right now. I'm just sitting here very quietly. Oh, now I see Natalie.
System. You can see that even in the last election. So there is just that ongoing need, I think, constantly, regardless of what we're doing, to educate the public about this. I just heard a voice.
You're good.
Caroline, could you?
Minute 33 seconds.
Sorry, it's very awkward. And in terms of education, there are a lot of individuals in community groups who have expressed interest in helping to do voter outreach for this, to supplement what you would do with your educational materials to let people know that this is what is going on the ballot. So once again, thank you for moving forward for this. I look forward to seeing what happens next.
Thank you, Caroline.
Thank you, Caroline. Okay. I'll bring it back for comments now.
I missed part of that. Did everyone miss part of that?
I thought that okay, we did all miss it, and she's off the phone now, right?
Yes.
Okay, because when I said something and you said it is happening, I thought maybe I just wasn't hearing it.
No, I said, is it happening in the comments?
Oh,
I apologize. It appeared that everything was working through the microphone here. So there is a delay when people are watching it at home online. So I'm not sure how that happened here because the microphone was on and the speaker. So I apologize.
I wonder, would it be appropriate to call her back? Maybe we could make a few comments while we're waiting for her to call, and then we could, when we get her back on, let her say it again?
Yes.
Okay. But I don't want to just sit here and wait like we did last time. So while you guys are making that call, does anybody have any comments? Councilmember Allison?
I can make a comment.
Okay.
Yeah, I got the gist of what Carolyn said, and I'm glad to hear that a lot of community members really like the idea of ranked choice voting and even want to volunteer their time to help get the word out. When I first heard of ranked choice voting, I really didn't know what to think of it, but when I researched and learned more about it, I thought it was a very great tool to have for democracy. It really gives people a lot of options when they vote, and I don't see how anyone could really hate the idea of ranked choice voting once they know about it. I also like the idea that this will be on the ballot along with probably our tax measure too, just because it might get a different variety of people out at the polls to vote, more than just one group, so to say. So overall, I really hope to see this on the ballot, and I hope the voters come out to support this. I think it's a great step forward for Eureka to have ranked choice voting.
Thank you. And it sounds like we might have Caroline on the phone again.
Yes, that's correct. Caroline is ready. So,
sorry, Caroline. We weren't sure. Some of us didn't hear all of it. That we'd be better off safe than sorry, so that everybody gets a chance to hear you.
Okay, so you're going to start again, Caroline. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, go for it.
Hi, Caroline again. Strange new world we live in. I was really just wanting to express my thanks for you moving forward with this, and to say that the charter amendment that City Attorney Bob Black has come up with is very good and thorough. It seems to me it matches up with what our technology is able to do too, with the amount of votes that could be cast. But I also really wanted to make sure that the council knew that as I talk to people about this, folks are very excited about the prospect of getting to vote this way. They want to be able to vote for ranked choice voting, and they also want to be able to use it to vote for our city officials. And also a lot of those folks, individuals and community groups, are also interested in working to do the education to let people know what this is, because you're correct, that is confusing for people at first, kind of like the True Ward system was, that I'm sure a lot of you saw when you were out campaigning. So that education, we do have a lot of folks who are interested in participating and helping with that. And so I appreciate this going forward. And I think that all of you probably have my contact information. And so if you have any questions or want to talk about this, please get in touch, and hope you could hear all of that. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks for doing it twice. Okay.
No problem.
So we have heard from Austin a comment. Do we have any other comments? Councilman Kim?
Well, I just, I'm excited to bring this forward as well. I've talked to a lot of people about this over time, and it seems like the public is very excited. I like the idea of this business of vote splitting being off the table. I know that that has been something that has been a concern for a lot of different people as we were moving forward in different elections, and to know that that is going to be a different, it's going to be different now, or potentially different now, is certainly a good thing. I also really believe that the public will determine whether this is realized or not, and I appreciate that we are putting it on the ballot so that everyone has a vote. I do want to say that I think the education is going to be.
Oh, you're fading out. Kim, we can't hear you. I don't know why. It's totally gone. But you're very animated.
Yeah, we can't hear you at all, Kim.
Can you hear me now?
Now we can.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did I leave off on Measure P? Where did I leave off at?
You didn't get to Measure P. I didn't hear those words.
I just wanted to say that I really appreciate that the public will be willing to participate in education with Measure P. I know that in the beginning that was really hard for people to kind of grapple with and figure out, you know, where you could vote and what, you know, with the different wards and that. So I look forward to seeing what the public's going to do with this. It seems like it's working in many other areas. So I'm looking forward to moving forward with it.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Arroyo.
Well, I'm happy to move forward and let the voters decide on this one. I think it offers some good opportunities for people to really engage in their democracy in a more nuanced way. And from what I understand, it's really functional in a lot of other communities. And clearly we have a really robust base of support for this in our community, of folks who've been contacting us and really advocating for this and want to partner to do the outreach. So with that in mind, I think I don't see any real pitfalls, although I did have a lovely conversation with a gentleman this week who felt that it might, I don't know that I share these concerns necessarily, but this person felt it might keep people from running if they thought they would be by far the least popular. And I think he was inferring that it might hurt people's feelings to know that people definitely liked them the least of all the candidates. And so he felt that might keep people from running if they felt they might be less popular. So it was an interesting take on the issue. That said, I do think it still offers a lot of opportunities for people to not have to choose the most electable to them candidate, but really the candidate that most aligns with their values and perspectives, and then continue to rank from there. So folks will be less pressured to choose someone that other people are telling them is more electable, and they can go with their heart. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. And Councilmember Castellano.
I've expressed my support of this in the past, and in terms of popularity, regardless of what kind of voting system, you still know who got the most votes. So, you know, there's a risk involved if you run for office, I suppose. In terms of direction to the city attorney, I do think that allowing for some flexibility in the charter would be wise. You know, I mean, for sure to state, the intention of ranked choice voting, but to allow future councils to, you know, make slight alterations if technology changes or things like that. That way we don't have to bring something forth to the voters again, or feel like we're kind of stuck in like in minor details. That's all I have to say for now.
All right. So we're at the comment or motion period. Does anybody want to make a motion to move this forward? Councilmember Burgell?
I didn't see a motion. I thought this was just discussion and getting direction.
I'm sorry, you're right. It is just a discussion and getting direction. Thank you. All right. Well, then, report received. Thank you very much. And it sounds like we are providing direction to follow up with the yes. You feel like you have direction you need, City Attorney Black?
Mute. Yes, I do. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So with that, we will move on to city manager reports, and we are going to have a financial update from Director Millar.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and City Council. Tonight's presentation is, as you just stated, a financial update. I will be focusing on fiscal year 1920 general fund revenues. I will show them by type and then the effect of the coronavirus. And then the second part will be on tax revenues, both current and future. This includes property tax, transient occupancy tax or TOT, and sales tax. So to begin, here are the general fund revenues by type as a pie chart. You know, we have 100 different line items for revenues, but they all fit into one of 6 categories. The biggest category is obvious. Those are taxes. Those represent about 78% of the general fund revenues. The remaining 5 categories actually represent about 22% of general fund revenues. So when I take that same data and I put it onto a bar chart, I've displayed taxes and non-tax revenues. You can see that tax revenue brings in by far the majority at about 22.7 million, and then non-tax revenues are about 6.5 million. This was the projection back in February when we did the mid-year review. I have now updated our 1920 outlook. Those are the bars on the right. So beginning with the non-tax revenues, you can see that there's been a slight decrease of about $200,000. But the majority of the decrease is coming from tax revenues, as you can see by the different heights of the bars. And the decrease in tax revenue actually represents about 94% of the total decrease. So what we're facing is really focused on one area of our revenue, or one type of revenues. When we look at tax revenues, there are 3 main types: the property tax, the TOT, and the sales tax. I will begin with the good news, and that is property tax. So the outlook for property tax is stable. You know, historically, this revenue stream is not very volatile. We see minor increases from year to year, and every once in a while we see a decrease, and that happened during the 2008 recession, but it was fairly minor. That said, things could change. If this shutdown extended, you know, through 2020 and beyond, there might be some downside risk to this revenue stream. So looking back at the amended budget, we predicted about 2.6 million in revenue. And with this May update, it's essentially the same. which is good news. The next type is TOT. So TOT is the opposite of property tax, where it is very volatile and it tends to move with the overall economy, just like sales tax does. The outlook is poor. So I don't predict our tax revenues, especially when we're going out, 5 years into the future. All of this information is provided to me by our consultants, HDL. And what they've stated is that between, March and June, they're estimating that TOT revenues are going to be down 75 to 90% of what we typically see in the final quarter of the fiscal year. So back in February, we were looking at about 2.8 million in TOT revenue. And with this new update, it's been decreased by over $750,000. Last but not least, we have sales tax. So the city technically has 3 different sales tax revenues. We have our Bradley Burns, we have our Measure D, and our Measure Q, which will be expiring at the end of, or in the spring of 2021. When you put these together, it's about 1.75%. So when you're shopping in Eureka, the state of California is going to charge you about 6.75%, and then the city adds on another 1.75%. So all taxable items within city limits are charged 8.5% sales tax. When we look at where we thought we were headed with sales tax, the assumption was about 16.7 million for fiscal year 1920. That has gone down by over $2.2 million. And that is, so this started roughly in March or mid-March. So we're assuming that that 2.2 happened just in the last few months of the fiscal year. And unfortunately, this isn't a one-time thing. When we look out to the future, these revenue streams are not predicted to turn around very quickly. And if you look back at 1819, we essentially peaked. And there's a high probability that we won't see that level of sales tax, 5 years into the future. So a word we've been using is the new normal. And that's been the focus of the 2021 budget, is to kind of find a place and financially that can maintain this outlook. So we are expecting the budget to be completed in the next week or two, and then we will present you with the document possibly in mid-June. And that document will lay out the strategies the city is going to use to navigate the future here. So that ends my presentation. Are there any questions?
Councilmember Arroyo.
I wrote down 3 questions. Well, one was really more of a clarifying question. So when you said the 1.75% of sales tax is imposed by the city, we don't keep 1.75%. Is that correct?
No, we do keep 1.75%. The remaining 6.75 goes to the state.
But what percentage goes to the county?
The county doesn't receive any sales tax generated within city limits. They earn their sales tax in unincorporated areas.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. I should know that. That was embarrassing for me. Okay. The TOT projection, Can you remind me what months we're talking about here for the what span of time this covers?
So it's almost the fourth quarter of the fiscal year, or April through June, but it also includes at least half of March. So we just got in our third quarter tax returns, and they were relatively flat. They're a little lower than expected. It's this final 3 months that we're predicting a 75 to 90% decrease.
Okay. So I guess my question is that projection, in your opinion, still too high? I mean, it seems like it would actually be lower than you said. It was in the realm of $2 million that we would still be seeing in TOT.
Correct. And to date, we've seen about just under 1.8 million.
Okay.
So that's not a very big increase from where we're at.
Okay. Yeah, I was imagining there's not very many people staying in hotels essentially at this juncture. And then lastly, I know that people are still buying a lot of stuff. In fact, a lot of people are going buck wild buying stuff while they're at home. Is there a shop local during the pandemic campaign that has really been formalized? I know we had some initial conversations about that. I know it might seem a little uncouth to say during this time of pandemic, don't forget about your local government income. But is there a way that we can make that connection for people between shopping local and city services that staff are working on or want to roll out?
I do think that's a worthwhile campaign. I'd also add that shopping at your local brick and mortar stores actually increases the revenue that the city receives. So the more that you shop online, the more likely we're not going to receive that 1% that Bradley Burns tax. We're likely to only receive the Measure D and Measure Q. So when people shop in the brick and mortar in city limits, we're going to get that full 1.75%. If they're shopping online, there's a good chance we'll only receive about 0.75% of the sale. So it would be, yes, shop local in Eureka, but also shop in the stores, which can be an issue currently.
And then, if I remember correctly, you if you do have to go online, say you're at Target and they don't have what you need, or Costco, and you order it, if you have it shipped to the store instead of your house, then the city gets the sales tax. If it goes straight to your house, the sales tax goes to the fulfillment center city, but it's broken up very strangely. So you don't get all the sales tax, you get some of it, right, Lane?
It's relatively complicated with distribution centers and, where that transaction takes place on the web. But if you order it to the store, there's a good chance that we're going to capture the full level of sales tax.
So if you have to get it online, there is a way to still help out your local town by picking it up at the store.
And Mayor, I just would like to add that our economic development manager, she is working with our local marketing folks, with our marketing folks, and then the local business associations to start a Buy Local campaign. And that should be launching through social media and websites electronically here very soon.
Do you know if the messaging has to do with like how sales tax helps the city, or is that not really part of it?
Probably not a big part of it, but we could certainly add some small message that indicates that not only are you helping the local business owner, but your services to your community.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want it to come off as like a greedy message. I'm not sure why people portray it as like the city council is just so greedy, but it's like, this is clearly the services that people get and need. So maybe it's like, I don't know, something that shows that in a pictorial format, or I don't know, maybe it's just not, maybe it's worth just saying support local businesses instead. But
think I've talked to Lane for a couple of years about this. I have imagined for a while a campaign in which you have different rates of local. Like if you buy local, made with local products, you know, that's the most benefit to your community. And if you buy local from a, you know, from a chain store or whatever, you know, and you kind of rank them, and then you do let people kind of know where they get the most bang for their buck at the local tax level. I haven't done anything with it, but I've been thinking about it for a long time. Maybe I'll talk to Eddie Alexander. Are you raising your hand now, or Councilman Member Castellano?
Sure. Well, and I think we covered it a little bit, but not only does that money support the city, but it also circulates more in the community. I wondered when you all were talking if showing like city workers shopping local would sort of be like a subliminal, or you know, or kind of get this sense of like, oh, the city is part of the experience of shopping local. But again, I will leave those sorts of things to the professionals. But yeah, thank you, Director Millar, for the update. Though it is kind of a bitter medicine, it is good to have a sense of where we're at, and you know, and I know that we all take this really seriously and take the well-being of the community really seriously, and also, I mean, it is, you know, I know how much value we get from the tax money and how much, you know, we use it directly in the community. And so I do look forward to brainstorming and going into the budget process, really thinking about like how much good can we do for our community, even, you know, when we have these kinds of challenges. So I appreciate that we have a very creative staff. So yeah, it's not going to be easy, but I do appreciate everyone who's going to be involved in as we go forward with this.
Anything else? Thank you, Director Millar. That's never fun news to give, but we're not hurting that. We totally recognize that you were just the messenger. All right, and now we have another report. We're going to do the COVID update. So, Acting City Manager Powell, would you please kind of give us an update on what's happening?
Sure. I would like to let the public know that at council request, we have made the the COVID update as part of our regular open session council meeting. We've discontinued the private briefings to council that is allowed under the governor's orders, but we really wanted to ensure that the public was as involved in all of our updates as possible. And at this time, these will all be done through the council meeting, through the regular open session. So I just wanted to clarify that. I wanted to let council know that the city of Eureka, when Great Plates, which is a senior meal program, was first announced, we had a very short window of time to get our name into the queue, and we did so, hoping that we would be able to learn more about the program and make those meals to seniors available through restaurants. Community services staff, they've done quite a bit of research, and we've worked with Jeanette from 211 to identify seniors, and we're really trying to make this program work. However, the cost to the city at this time is it's hard for us to make that firm commitment. So we will be reaching out with the county, to the county through their EOC, to try and make this a regional program and approach it from the county and the city working together. We still don't know if we're going to be able to have this program, but we're going to be trying every possible means to make it happen. So I just want to let council know that, and we'll be keeping you apprised. The program is only supposed to run through June 10th at this time, so we've had a really short window to try and make this happen. But that's what's going on with the Great Meals program. And so secondly, we will, I don't know if you're aware of it, but the AHA has not been able to have their showers available. They were doing some ADA arrangements and changing some configuration of the showers. They will be offering their newly updated trailer to the public, and we have allowed them to use the Samoa Boat Launch property, and they will be coming there twice a week, I believe, beginning the first week of June. We have 4 staff members who are working through the county's EOC to review business compliance plans, and that's to help the county, help the businesses get those plans done quickly. And so far we've had a number of businesses submit their compliance plans and receive their accreditation. The City of Eureka has also received accreditation for our summer programs that we hope to offer beginning in July, and also for our preschool daycare that we hope to begin again June 1st for childcare. And we have regular, it will be offered to our essential employees who work here at the city, and also to the other members of the public who participate in the preschool. We continue to operate City Hall by appointment only, and I'm really proud to say that as a city, we've been able to provide services for our planning and building departments, and for people to pay their water bills and to start services. And we've done that throughout COVID. Our employees have done a stellar job in working, social distancing themselves, coming to work, working from home, and we will continue to be available to the public. We will be opening up, but in a very controlled manner, to the public once we're allowed to do so in phase 3. So with that, I'm available for any questions.
Councilmember Burgell.
Pam, do you know what days those showers are going to be at the boat launch?
Yes. They will be once a week on Tuesdays from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. starting on June 2nd.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you for the report. And with that, it looks like we have come to our council member reports, and I will just go around the picture frame as I see it, and I will start with Councilmember Arroyo.
I was so unprepared to go first. That never happens. Since I sit in the middle. Let's see. So the Humboldt Transit Authority, folks may have heard this, but they will be discontinuing the free rides. There were free rides on transit during the last couple of months, and the funding for that has been by and large used up. And additionally, there were some challenges around folks riding the bus as a place to be during the day, and not necessarily having enough seats because of the distancing requirements for commuters who rely on that as a form of transportation, especially to essential jobs. And so that is also a factor in the decision, but primarily it was a funding change. And so that is the main news from the Humboldt Transit Authority as a whole. And they did install driver guards to protect the drivers with those plexiglass guards that a lot of local businesses are starting to get that are manufactured locally. And we'll continue to have social distancing measures in place on the buses, and they're cleaned even more frequently than usual. So they should provide a safe option for folks, and anyone wishing to ride the bus will, as with any other enclosed space, be absolutely required to wear a mask. But that is the change with our local transit. And otherwise, I have nothing new to report.
All right. Sorry to startle you into being first. Councilmember Burgell. Oh, you look frozen. I'll come back to you. Oh, you got it?
I don't know. Am I here?
Yeah, you're not moving, but I could hear you.
Oh, I'm not moving? I hope I don't have a funny look on my face. So, well,
oh, now we can't hear you. Your internet's being real wonky. I'm going to move on. I'm going to move on to Councilmember Allison, and
okay.
I think I don't know. Okay. Go ahead, Austin.
Okay, yeah. I don't really have too much to report other than that. Keep practicing social distancing. I love seeing everyone, getting some sunshine, working on the garden and stuff every day. And I just wanted to remind folks, if anyone is looking to upgrade their bikes to an electric bike, RCEA is offering a $500 off rebate. Right now, I still think there's some funding available for that. So check out the RCEA website, because that's something cool if you want to use different means of transportation. And that's all I got for now.
Excellent. Kim, I want to try you again. You look normal. Like you look like your head's moving a little. Okay.
All right. Well, I just, let's see. I just wanted to let folks know that I did go to the Humboldt Bay Fire budget meeting this week. And that was good, and nothing to report out on that. But I also wanted to let folks know that even though we are in a pandemic, the kinetic sculpture race is still happening virtually, and you can find that link on Facebook. You can find that link on my council page. My team has actually done a video just for fun, and people have turned in their videos for the virtual crossings and things. So it's going to be a lot of fun. It's not going to be the same, but certainly we don't want to miss that opportunity for fun and more fun, and then again, more fun. So I just want to keep encouraging people. The weather has been kind of iffy, but we live in such a beautiful place, and I've been really trying to get out to different areas and walk and just kind of be in the community, kind of far, far away from each other. But it's really good for the brain to get out and to do that. And I also want to just say one more thing, is that I really appreciate so much the people that are wearing their masks in public. I appreciate you, because whether you agree or disagree, you are willing to take those steps to protect the people around you. And that is critical and important during this pandemic time. So thank you for wearing your mask while you're out, practicing social distancing, and doing the
We lost you again. Sorry. Councilmember Castellano.
Let's see. I've been continuing to volunteer and serving on the Ink People board. Let's see. I also have been attending quite a few economic development meetings, kind of really to try to help address and the best protocol for this time, for right now, and also for planning forward into the future. And really these meetings have been a fantastic show of support for local businesses. So I feel really appreciative of all of the people who are participating in those meetings. You know, and just kind of a shout out to REDEC and SBDC, Humboldt Area Foundation. There's a lot others, you know, the Emergency Operations Center. And then I did attend the REDEC board meeting last night. And one of the big things that they're doing is they are offering kind of disaster relief loans in the community. So we talked a lot about that. And that is the basics of what I've been doing. So
nice. So I will close out this meeting, but after hearing Councilmember Burgell, I would like to close out by saying appreciate people for wearing their masks. I'd also like to send you off and thank you for being good customers. We really appreciate when you shop at local businesses, but also be kind to the people who are working. They're in very stressful situations, and we understand that all of you are in very stressful situations too. But I'd like to ask you to try not to take it out on them. People are running a little hot these days, and so be kind to everybody. And we will see you guys in a couple of weeks. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone. Good night and good luck.